What's going on, everyone? So today I want to go over Honkai Star Rail's meta because it is going to shift, and this is going to be a massive shift. Now you got to let me explain, let me cook on this one, okay? Now I have reason to believe that Honkai Star Rail's meta is going to shift quite a bit away from the AoE meta that we are all too familiar with when it comes to Amphorius and the version 3 updates. Now, if you're a veteran of Honkai Star Rail, you may be familiar with what the meta was looking like at the end of the 2.0 updates and leading into Amphorius. We had break units, we had someone like Face Shell who was going on strong, especially when Rappa and Fugue and Firefly reran. Break was insane from throughout the summer of 2024 all the way to that winter. Then 3.0 came and it completely got shafted. And I think we could see something similar to that when it comes to this upcoming fall, winter, and the eventual release of version 4.0. Now, among all the archetypes, there's three that are going to be seeing really huge changes. The first one is going to be Dot. Now, we got a Kafka buff, high ceilings release, and dot-centered enemies all in version 3.5. We know this, it was a massive Dot update. Now, is Hoyoverse going to cook on Dot? Are they going to keep on releasing new Dot units, new Nihility Dot units, or are they going to shaft it yet again like they did back in version 2.0 leading up through the Penacony patches? Now, between these two, I think it's going to be the first one, and here's why, right? Elation is coming in version 4.0. This has been leaked a lot of times by the popular leakers in the Star Rail community, but the thing is, the Elation path could very much be a brand new Dot path. Now, there's no information to go off of with this one, so you're gonna have to bear with me here, but they did do this with Remembrance. Remembrance is all about summons, and that summon kind of meta, right? But the thing is, we already had summon units before Remembrance even came out. They just functioned differently. While our old summon units were independent of the actual wearer, like Topaz, Jingyuan, just like with Remembrance units, it was a lot more simplified. And we could see that with Dot in the Elation. Elation could be a big variant of Dot. They could massively expand on Dot because there is potential with damage over time as an archetype. There's hardly any units for it right now. Now that's not all though, because there's also the break meta. There's two things that made break completely obsolete with the 3.0 updates. The first one, I talk about this in every single video, toughness bar inflation. Now, not a lot of people talk about it. I've never seen anyone talk about it actually, but it's true. When Firefly came out, the toughness bars of the enemies were straight up pool noodles. You could easily break through them. But when 3.0 came out, when Fugue came out a little bit after that, then they got tough the way they are now. You literally cannot break these toughness bars unless you have Fugue. If you don't have Fugue, congrats, you can't run Firefly or especially Rappa unless you have high investment otherwise, but for the average Firefly main without Fugue, it's not gonna happen. And the other thing that made Break completely obsolete in the meta was the fact that there was no brand new units for Break. Now, if my Dot theory is true, then we don't have to worry about that with that archetype because Elation could cover up the Dot path. But with Break, there's no new path that could come out for it. It's gonna have to be, Destruction, Nihility, that kind of thing going on. There was not a single Break unit in the version 3 updates, so naturally the older units, the ones that were already existing, fell behind and they did get power capped quite a bit. Especially Rappa. She is an AoE DPS and you could use her in situations where Break is in favor, but otherwise, if you need an AoE DPS, you could use the Herda, Phynon, and Castris if you do have these main three. Now, we could see a massive change to Break for a couple different reasons. Now, the first one is going to be version 3.8. This one is going to see the release of Constance, who is going to be a Break support. I'm not too sure if she's specifically a Super Break support or generally like a Break support, kind of like someone who could work with either Super Break or regular Break. Think of Sushang, Shuiyi, right? But no one's going to run them, right? No one's going to run these DPSs. But you still get what I mean, right? Constance is going to be the first Break unit that we've had since Fugue. Now that alone already entails that Break is going to temporarily have a resurgence, but that's not all. Leakers also said that Firefly is going to be getting a buff sometime in early 4.x, and if Constance is going to be a Break unit releasing in version 3.8, then it's natural to assume that Firefly is going to be getting her buff in either version 4.0 or version 4.1. And lastly, we are very much due for a Rappa rerun. She came out back in version 2.6, and if you look at the spreadsheet, she has not had a single rerun yet. Now, buffing Firefly will be nice, but another thing that they could do on top of all of these three that I mentioned is they could come out potentially with another break DPS, one who could function differently than Firefly or Rappa, right? Firefly is like a conventional destruction unit who also does break damage, and a Rappa is like a conventional AoE DPS. But we could have a single target break DPS that comes out soon. I'm not talking about Boot Hill, but one that's specifically super break targeted. Now this could happen, this could not happen, we don't know, but the point is AoE is not going to be as much in favor now because of these changes. We have Elation, Dot, Break. With all of these archetypes, there's not really any room for AoE to be shielded anymore, and that brings me on to the last thing. We have zero information on any AoE units coming anytime soon. Now, spoilers for the version 4.0 roster. If you don't want to hear who's coming, just skip ahead by like a few seconds. But we know, according to leakers, there's going to be an Elation variant of Sparkle. There's going to be allegedly a form of Blade, who's probably going to be a DPS. What kind of DPS we don't know yet, but he's probably going to be Destruction. And of course, we're going to have Elation Trailblazer. Now, with what's basically the confirmed roster for version 3.7, 3.8, and 4.0, there's not, like I said, there's just no room for any kind of AoE units coming soon. And if they're not going to come out with AoE units, then they're probably not going to be shilling AoE anymore. Let's not forget, the Herda is getting a rerun already in version 3.6. This is probably one big indicator that AoE is going to get shafted, because they always do this with DPSs. They'll rerun them and then they'll make them obsolete in some way. People like to call it power creep. It's usually not power creep. They just make something in the environment of the endgame that makes said DPS extremely difficult to use against. Just to quickly condense everything I wanted to talk about in this video, I feel like Elation is going to be a dot path, and we're going to see major dot units coming out in the version 4 updates. I feel like Break will also be some kind of subsidiary form of meta. We're probably not going to see an insane amount of Break units coming out, but we could see 1 or 2 Break units coming in the version 4 updates. Break will definitely be very in for the first half of 2026, and you're always going to be able to use AoE DPSs, no doubt about that. You can use them for quite a while. They're the least susceptible to power creep, especially Finon, who right now is an absolute monster. But if you want to hold on to your already existing DPSs, you could consider going all in and investing into them. But that's about it for this video. I have nothing else to say. I'm honestly looking forward to the version 4 updates and 4.0 as a whole. I think that this is going to be prime Honkai Star Rail. I already made a video going over how I strongly feel like we are heading into the golden era of Honkai Star Rail with these upcoming updates, and in this video I'm going to double down on that. If you want to hear my thoughts on that, it should be on the screen right now, but that's about it for this video. I have nothing else to say, so I'll see y'all. Goodbye.